It was July 18, 2022. The air was thick with the heavy humidity of Florida's summer. Eric Murda, 43, a father of 7, wiped the sweat from his brow as he finished repairing an irrigation system in the rural outskirts of Manatee County. The sun dipped low, painting long shadows across the marshlands and the scattered orange groves. The heat and the work had left him exhausted, but there was a restless curiosity inside him, a pull toward something unknown. He glanced at the small, weathered sign near the dirt road, Fishing Camp Manatee Lake. Beyond it, the lake lay calm, the surface almost black under the dimming sky. The thought of exploring, of stepping into a world he didn't yet understand, gripped him. He left his truck keys and phone behind, knowing this would be a journey into isolation. Each step into the dense brush was a battle. The vines snagged his clothes, thorns tore at his skin, and the mud pulled at his boots. Eric's mind wandered. He thought of his children scattered across the country, the mistakes of the past, the friends who had led him down dangerous paths. Could he still rebuild his life, he asked himself. But the question had no immediate answer. Tonight, survival would be the only measure. Hours passed. The orange grove stretched endlessly before him, each tree a shadowy obstacle. He could no longer see the lake or his truck. The world he knew, the roads, the familiar signs of civilization vanished. Only the wilderness remained, the mud, the water, the insects buzzing around him, and the eerie silence that made each sound, each rustle, feel amplified. As darkness fell, the swamp water rose to his waist. Eric's legs sank into the thick mud with each step. The mosquitoes and horseflies pestered him relentlessly, biting exposed skin, drawing blood. He recalled his children again, their laughter, their tiny hands in his. That memory gave him strength, even as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm his body. Then movement, something. In the water beside him, eyes yellow gleaming fixed on him, a massive alligator, silent yet menacing, inches away. Eric froze. His mind screamed to run, but instinct took over. He pushed forward, swimming, thrashing, trying to escape. The creature lunged, jaws clamping onto his right arm. Pain exploded through him. He kicked, twisted, fought back with every ounce of strength he had left, gripping the alligator's belly, attempting to lever it off. The struggle was violent, relentless. Every second was agony. Eric's thoughts flickered to his family again. He would not die here. The fight became more than survival. It was about proving to himself that he could still rise from the chaos of his past. Eric Murda moved cautiously through the dense undergrowth. The tall grasses scratched at his arms, mud clung to his boots, and the swamp water rose with each step. The sun was dipping low, casting long, eerie shadows across the marsh. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the splash of unseen creatures made him jump, but he pressed forward. He remembered the alligator attack, the sharp pain in his arm, and how close death had come. But now he felt determination stronger than fear. "I must survive," he whispered, thinking of his children, thinking of his family. The swamp was not just a place, it was a trial. The water deepened, reaching his knees, then waist. Eric paused, scanning for the safest path. Every decision could mean life or death. He recalled his training, his experience as a laborer, the times he had faced exhaustion and challenge. Nothing had prepared him for this. The swamp seemed endless, a maze with no exit. He stepped forward carefully, each movement deliberate. His thoughts drifted to the ordinary moments he had taken for granted, family dinners, laughter with his kids, the comfort of a warm bed. Those memories fueled him. He would not give up now, not when survival was within reach. Eric pressed on, wading through the swamp. Each step sank slightly into the muddy floor, water splashing around his legs. He kept his eyes on the dim outline of a path, barely visible beneath the thick foliage. The alligator could be anywhere, lurking just beneath the murky surface. He remembered the sounds of the night, the soft splash of fish, distant bird calls, the subtle movement of unseen creatures. Every noise heightened his awareness. "Stay calm, think clearly," he whispered to himself, muscles tense, eyes scanning every shadow. Hours seemed to stretch endlessly. His arms ached, legs trembled from fatigue, and hunger gnawed at his stomach. But Eric refused to stop. Memories of his children, their laughter and faces, drove him forward. Each step was a promise to himself. "I will survive. I will see them again." Suddenly, he spotted a fallen tree forming a narrow bridge across deeper waters. He approached cautiously, testing the stability with a long branch. The wood creaked under his weight, threatening to snap, but he balanced carefully, moving one foot at a time. Halfway across, he paused. The swamp seemed to breathe around him, dark and alive. His mind wandered to simpler times, his family, the mundane safety of home. Those thoughts strengthened his resolve. With steady breaths, he continued, step by step, until he reached solid ground. Eric moved cautiously through the dense undergrowth. Every sound echoed loudly in his ears. The swamp was alive, each ripple of water a potential warning. His heart pounded, but his mind remained sharp. Focus on the path, focus on survival, he reminded himself. A sudden movement caught his eye, a shadow gliding beneath the water just a few feet away. The alligator had not given up. Eric froze, holding his breath, calculating his next move. Slowly, he stepped backward, feeling the mud suck at his boots. Every motion could alert the predator. Memories of his family flashed through his mind, his children's laughter, their questions, the warmth of home. For a moment, fear was replaced by determination. I must survive. For them, he thought. Gathering courage, he stepped onto a slightly higher patch of ground, keeping low and silent. Hours passed like this. The swamp seemed endless. His body ached, his skin was scraped by thorns, and exhaustion tugged at every muscle. Yet Eric pressed on, using every ounce of strength to navigate the treacherous terrain. The occasional splash of water reminded him of the lurking danger beneath. By dawn, the swamp began to thin, the shadows retreating with the morning light. Eric finally spotted a faint trail leading toward solid ground. Relief surged through him, but he knew the danger was not completely gone. The alligator could return at any moment. Steeling himself, he continued, eyes fixed on the path ahead, every sense alert. Eric finally reached the edge of the swamp. The ground felt firmer beneath his feet, but he knew this reprieve was temporary. Every step could be critical. The alligator was still out there, waiting for the slightest mistake. He paused to catch his breath and looked back. The swamp behind him seemed endless, dark, and menacing. The moonlight reflected on the water, revealing ripples, subtle signs of movement. Eric clenched his fists. No hesitation, move forward. Memories of his children's faces gave him strength. He imagined their voices calling him, and it fueled his determination. Every ounce of fear was replaced with focus. He ran when he could, walked cautiously when needed, and listened. Every sound mattered. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind him. Eric froze, his heart raced. He held his breath. Then silence. Was it the alligator or just the wind? He couldn't risk looking back. The only way forward was through. Hours seemed to pass as minutes. His energy waned, but the sight of distant light gave him hope. It was the faint glow of a cabin on the far side of the marsh. Salvation was close. He pushed his body beyond exhaustion, moving faster, each step a mix of pain and adrenaline. Finally, he reached solid ground near the cabin. Collapsing briefly, he inhaled deeply, grateful to be out of the water. Yet deep inside, he knew this night would leave scars, physical, emotional, and spiritual. But Eric also knew he had survived, and that survival would shape him forever. Eric rested for a few minutes, gathering his strength. The cabin light flickered in the distance, guiding him like a beacon. Each step toward it felt like crossing an invisible line between life and death. The swamp was quiet now, almost too quiet. The eerie silence pressed on him. He remembered the cold water, the sharp teeth of the alligator, and the pain in his arm. Never again, he whispered to himself, I will survive. As he approached the cabin, he noticed details he had missed before, broken fences, old fishing nets, and scattered tools. It seemed abandoned, yet the light persisted. Eric moved cautiously, scanning every shadow. Inside, the cabin was empty, but a fire pit had embers. Someone had been here recently. He couldn't stay long, but he used the moment to hydrate and rest his aching muscles. Memories of his children and family motivated him. He imagined returning home safely, sharing this unbelievable story. Then he heard it, a splash in the water nearby. Eric tensed. Could the alligator have followed me? He grabbed a wooden stick, prepared to defend himself, but nothing emerged, only the rustling of the swamp in the wind. With renewed courage, he left the cabin and continued along the narrow path. The moonlight revealed obstacles. Tangled roots, mud pits, and sudden drops. Every step required precision. One mistake could mean another encounter with the deadly predator. Hours passed. Exhaustion gnawed at him, but the thought of safety and life kept him moving. Slowly, the first signs of dawn appeared. The sky brightened, and the swamp transformed from a menacing labyrinth into a landscape of misty beauty. Eric finally emerged onto a solid road. He fell to his knees, exhausted but alive. His arm ached, his body was battered, yet a profound relief filled him. He had survived the night, the swamp, and the relentless pursuit of death itself. Eric walked along the road, every step heavy, muscles trembling. The swamp behind him seemed like a distant nightmare, yet its shadows haunted his mind. I made it through the darkness, he thought, but will I ever forget it? As he moved, he encountered a small bridge over a creek. The wood creaked under his weight. He paused, listening to the gentle flow of water, realizing it was the first calm sound he had heard since the attack. He touched the cool railing and felt the pulse of life again. Memories of his family returned. The faces of his children, their laughter, and his wife's smile filled his mind. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine being home, safe, and embraced by warmth and love. The thought gave him strength to continue. Hours passed. Eric's clothes were soaked and muddy. His body was stiff from the hours of struggle, yet his spirit remained determined. He thought about the lessons learned. Never underestimate nature, never take life for granted, and always respect its power. Suddenly, he heard voices, other humans. Relief surged through him. He called out, and a group of locals appeared, guiding him toward safety. They offered water, blankets, and words of comfort. Eric realized how close he had come to losing everything. As he rested, he reflected on the ordeal. The alligator, the swamp, the darkness, all had tested his limits, but he had survived. The experience left scars, yes, but it also left him with a story of courage, resilience, and the will to live. Eric knew that when he returned home, he would never take a single moment for granted. Every sunrise, every laugh, every simple joy would be more precious than ever. He had stared death in the eyes and won, and that knowledge changed him forever. Night fell slowly over the wetlands. Eric found a small clearing enough to rest. The sky above sparkled with stars, each one a reminder of the vastness of the world. He lay on the ground, mud-caked and exhausted, letting the sounds of nature wash over him. He thought about the alligator attack again, the struggle beneath the dark waters. "I was so close to losing my life," he whispered to himself. But the danger had also awakened something inside him, a fierce determination to survive, to honor the life he had. Memories of home returned in fragments. He pictured his children playing in the yard, his wife preparing dinner, and the small routines that once felt ordinary but now seemed extraordinary. Every laugh, every smile, every shared meal, he would never take them for granted again. The night was silent except for the distant calls of nocturnal birds. Eric considered the choices he had made in his life, the mistakes, the wrong turns. Yet tonight in the darkness, he understood that every decision had led him to this moment. Survival was not just physical, it was also about learning, growing, and transforming. Hours passed. Eric drifted in and out of light sleep, the memories of the swamp mingling with dreams of safety. He visualized a path forward, a life where he could live fully, cherish his family, and embrace each day with gratitude. As dawn approached, he rose slowly, testing his body. Pain lingered, but determination outweighed it. With the first light, he began walking again, each step a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope persists. Eric moved cautiously through the thick vegetation. Every step was a challenge, the swamp seemed endless. The mud clung to his legs, the waterlogged ground slowed him down, yet he pressed on, each movement a test of endurance and willpower. He remembered the alligator, the crushing weight of its jaws, the terror that had filled him. But he also remembered his determination, the fire inside that refused to let him go. "I am not finished yet," he thought, pushing forward. As he navigated the dense marsh, Eric noticed small signs of life. Birds flitted from branch to branch, frogs croaked in harmony, and insects hummed around him. These tiny reminders of life strengthened him, giving a sense of connection to the world even in isolation. His mind wandered to his family again. He imagined holding his children, feeling the warmth of their laughter and the gentle touch of a loved one. These thoughts became fuel for his body and spirit, pushing him to keep moving despite exhaustion and pain. Hours stretched on. Eric faced fallen logs, hidden ditches, and thick undergrowth that seemed impossible to cross. Each obstacle demanded creativity, patience, and focus. One wrong step could have led to disaster, yet he carefully navigated the treacherous terrain. By late afternoon, he stumbled upon a slightly raised area, a small island within the swamp. He paused, catching his breath, and reflected on his journey. Every scar, every ache, every struggle had brought him closer to understanding his strength. The sun began to dip below the horizon. Shadows lengthened, and the swamp's quiet beauty transformed into a darker, more mysterious landscape. Eric knew the night would bring new challenges, but he was ready. He had faced fear, pain, and the unknown and survived. Night descended slowly over the swamp. Shadows stretched long and eerie across the water. Eric paused, listening. The swamp had changed, sounds were sharper, more pronounced. Every rustle of leaves, every distant splash made his heart race. He moved carefully, feeling the uneven ground beneath his feet. Each step required concentration. The water around him reflected the pale moonlight, creating illusions that tested his mind. "Is that a branch or something more dangerous?" he wondered. Eric remembered the story of the alligator. He could still feel its grip on his arm, the terror of near death. That memory fueled caution, making him meticulous with every movement. He scanned the area, noting hiding spots and potential hazards. As he continued, he found small remnants of human presence. A torn piece of cloth, a discarded bottle, footprints partially washed away by the swamp. Each sign reminded him he was not alone, and perhaps others had survived or failed. His thoughts drifted to his family again. He imagined telling them his story, showing the scars that marked his ordeal. The desire to return to them gave him strength, urging him onward. Hours passed. The swamp seemed infinite, but slowly Eric began to notice subtle changes. The water became shallower, the ground firmer. The thick underbrush gave way to taller trees and clearer paths. Relief mixed with exhaustion, but he knew he had to remain vigilant. The stars above guided him, a silent celestial map. Eric adjusted his pace, moving steadily toward what he hoped would be safety. Every breath was deliberate, every movement precise. Nightfall was no longer just darkness, it was a test of endurance, courage, and resilience. Dawn broke slowly over the swamp, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Eric could feel the first warmth of sunlight on his skin, a small comfort after a night of fear and uncertainty. He paused to catch his breath, taking in the serene beauty of the swamp. Birds began to chirp, insects hummed, and the water reflected the changing light. For a moment, the swamp seemed less threatening, almost welcoming. Eric thought about how far he had come. The trials of the night had tested every ounce of his strength, his courage, and his resolve. Yet he had survived. Every scar, every bruise was a testament to his determination to live. Memories of his family surged through him. He imagined seeing their faces, hearing their voices, and feeling the safety of home. That vision pushed him forward, giving him renewed energy. He carefully navigated the swamp, moving toward a faint trail that promised an exit. Each step required focus, but also hope. The world beyond the swamp seemed near, a place where he could recover, heal, and reclaim his life. As he reached the edge, Eric saw signs of civilization. A distant road, the outline of a house, smoke rising from a chimney. Relief flooded him, mingled with disbelief. After hours of struggle, the nightmare of the swamp was finally behind him. Eric smiled, exhausted but victorious. The dawn was more than a new day. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the human spirit's unyielding will to survive. Eric stepped onto the road, the muddy swamp behind him. Every muscle ached, his body was covered in scratches and bruises, yet a new sense of purpose propelled him forward. He walked slowly at first, testing his strength. The warmth of the sun gave him energy, but the long journey ahead reminded him that survival was only the beginning. Thoughts of his family and friends filled his mind. He imagined their reactions, their relief, their concern. This mental image strengthened his resolve, making every step lighter despite the fatigue. The road was uneven, filled with rocks and roots. Eric carefully avoided obstacles, using the lessons learned in the swamp to navigate more cautiously. Every movement required attention, every choice was deliberate. Hours passed. Eric found a small stream and drank cautiously, replenishing his energy. The taste of fresh water was invigorating, a stark contrast to the murky swamp. Memories of past failures and mistakes crossed his mind. He reflected on the choices that had led him here, the risks he had taken, and the lessons learned. Each memory was a reminder that life was fragile and survival required both courage and wisdom. He paused to rest under a large oak tree, the shade comforting against the midday sun. Breathing deeply, he appreciated the silence of the forest. Nature, once an adversary, now seemed to embrace him. Eric continued, motivated by the thought of reaching safety. Every step brought him closer to civilization, to warmth, to recovery. Each challenge faced strengthened his spirit, each obstacle overcome affirmed his resilience. The road twisted and turned, revealing small clearings where he could see the horizon. Each glimpse of the sky reminded him that freedom was near, that his struggle was not in vain. The sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the uneven road. Eric felt the weight of the day pressing down on him. Fatigue tugged at his limbs, but his determination burned brighter. Every rustle in the underbrush made him alert. His mind raced, imagining dangers both real and imagined. The swamp had taught him caution, and now it guided every step he took. He stumbled upon an old wooden bridge, half submerged in the creek below. The boards creaked under his weight. One wrong step could plunge him into the cold water again. Eric moved slowly, each step measured and deliberate. As night fell, the forest became a maze of shadows. Eric's thoughts drifted to his family. He imagined their voices calling his name, the comfort of a warm home. The memory was both painful and motivating. He spotted a small campfire in the distance. Hope surged through him, a light cutting through the darkness. But as he approached, he realized it was abandoned. Still, the clearing offered a place to rest. He settled down, leaning against a tree, and allowed himself a brief moment of sleep. In his dreams, he relived the struggle with the swamp and the alligator. Every sensation, cold water, sharp pain, fear, was vivid. He woke drenched in sweat, heart pounding, but with renewed focus. Survival demanded alertness, even in rest. Eric pressed on, guided by the moonlight and the distant glimmer of civilization. Every step reminded him of his resilience, of the strength that had carried him through darkness and danger. The forest whispered around him, carrying both fear and beauty. Eric realized that he was no longer just surviving. He was learning to live fully, aware of every breath, every heartbeat. The swamp seemed endless, its dark waters reflecting the pale moon. Eric felt every muscle screaming in protest, yet he pressed forward. The weight of exhaustion was heavy, but surrender was not an option. A sudden movement caught his eye, a snake slithering across the path. He froze, heart hammering. One wrong move and it could bite him. He took a slow, careful step back, then adjusted his course to avoid it. Memories of his family surfaced again. He pictured their faces, imagined their worry, and felt a surge of determination. He couldn't let them down, not now, not ever. Hours passed, the forest's eerie sounds both comforting and threatening. Eric began to notice small signs of human activity, broken branches, faint footprints, remnants of a fire. These signs filled him with cautious hope. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind rustled the trees. Eric ducked instinctively. The swamp's dangers were relentless, branches snapping, mud sucking at his boots, the constant threat of deeper water. He reached a small clearing and spotted a thin trail leading toward higher ground. Relief washed over him. He knew that every step forward increased his chances of survival. His legs ached, his arms trembled, but the sight of solid land rejuvenated his spirit. Eric paused for a moment to catch his breath. The stars shone brightly above, silent witnesses to his struggle. He whispered a quiet prayer of thanks, feeling a strange connection to the world around him. With renewed energy, he moved toward the trail, each step deliberate, each decision critical. The swamp had tested him, but it had also taught him resilience, patience, and the value of every moment. Eric followed the narrow trail, careful with each step. The ground was uneven, roots twisting like serpents beneath his feet. Every sound echoed in the night, frogs croaking, distant rustle of leaves, the occasional splash in the water. His mind wandered to simpler times, memories of family dinners, laughter, and warm sunlight on his face. Those images fueled his determination. He reminded himself, "I will survive, I must." Suddenly, he noticed a faint glow through the dense foliage. Curiosity mixed with caution. Slowly, he approached. It was a small cabin, abandoned perhaps, with a dim lantern swaying gently in the window. Eric's instincts screamed to avoid it, but necessity pushed him forward. He stepped carefully, checking for signs of danger. The door creaked as he pushed it open, revealing an empty interior, yet stocked with dry firewood and old supplies. He allowed himself a brief moment to rest, to eat a small ration he had salvaged earlier, and to drink water from a makeshift container. The comfort was fleeting. He knew the swamp would claim him if he lingered too long. Refreshed, he continued. The path twisted and turned, sometimes leading him to the edge of the swamp, other times back into the dense undergrowth. Each turn felt like a test, each step a challenge to his endurance. Eric paused, listening. The night was alive. Somewhere water lapped against unseen banks. Birds called out unseen, their voices sharp in the darkness. He realized that survival depended not just on strength, but on awareness, on noticing the subtle cues the swamp offered. And then through the darkness he saw it, a small bridge barely visible stretching across the murky water. It seemed fragile, almost unreal, but it was the first solid structure he had seen in hours. With careful, deliberate steps, Eric crossed the bridge, feeling the wood creak and sway beneath him. Each step was a victory, each breath a triumph. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, he glimpsed cautiously across the swamp's edge, the bridge now behind him. The moonlight barely illuminated the path, casting long, eerie shadows. Each step was measured, deliberate, yet his heart raced with anticipation and fear. He recalled the faces of his children, their laughter echoing in his memory. "I must survive," he whispered, "for them, for the life I have yet to rebuild." That thought fueled his determination, even as exhaustion gnawed at his body. Suddenly, a soft sound caught his attention, a low, guttural growl from the distance. Eric froze. The shadows seemed to shift, the wind carrying a chilling whisper. He could feel the presence of something large moving silently in the dark. Then, unexpectedly, a figure appeared from the mist. A man tall and rugged, carrying a long pole with a hook at the end. "Hey, are you lost?" the stranger shouted, voice firm but not unkind. Eric hesitated, unsure whether to trust this unexpected ally, but desperation won over caution. He nodded, explaining briefly his struggle, the swamp, and the encounter with the creature. The stranger extended his hand, guiding Eric to a safer path. "Follow me, you won't make it alone," he said. Eric realized that sometimes survival required more than strength, it required trust, even in the most unlikely forms. As they moved together, Eric observed his companion. Scarred hands, eyes that had seen hardship, yet a steady, calm demeanor. There was something reassuring in the way he navigated the swamp, avoiding pitfalls and noticing dangers before they became threats. They walked in silence for a while, the only sounds the distant croak of frogs and the occasional splash of water. Eric's mind wandered to the choices that had led him here, to the decisions that had shaped his life. And yet in this moment he felt a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in darkness light could appear. Finally, they reached a small clearing. The swamp seemed less threatening here. The water shallower, the foliage less dense. Eric paused, taking in the sight. For the first time in days, he felt a sense of possibility, a chance to reclaim some control over his fate. Eric followed the stranger through the shallow waters, each step sending ripples across the swamp. His muscles ached, his skin scratched and bruised, but the presence of the guide brought a sense of security he hadn't felt in days. "Almost there," the stranger muttered, his eyes scanning the shadows for any threat. Eric nodded, gripping a fallen branch for balance. He felt the weight of exhaustion pressing down, yet he refused to surrender. Memories of his family surfaced again, his daughter's smile, his son's playful shouts, the quiet evenings at home. Those recollections became a shield against fear, a reason to push through the fatigue. Suddenly, the water deepened. Eric stumbled, panic flaring in his chest, but the stranger's strong hand caught his elbow, steadying him. "Keep moving, don't look back," he urged. Eric realized that survival wasn't just about physical strength, it was about mental focus, trust, and the will to endure. As they pressed forward, the sounds of the swamp transformed. The distant croaks and rustles blended into a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, guiding their steps. Eric felt connected to nature, to life, to the fragile thread that separated him from disaster. A faint glow appeared in the distance. At first, Eric thought it was a trick of his tired eyes, but as they approached, he saw a small cabin, lights flickering inside, smoke curling from the chimney. Civilization, safety, rescue. He stumbled forward, tears mingling with the mud on his face. The stranger nodded, pointing to the cabin. "Go, you made it." Eric didn't hesitate. He ran the final steps, collapsing at the doorstep, gasping for air, alive. Inside, a kind-faced woman hurried to him with blankets and water. Eric realized how precious life truly was, the simple comfort of warmth, of safety, of being alive to fight another day. He thought about the swamp, the creature, the relentless struggle, but now hope had returned. "I survived," he whispered to himself, and "I'll never forget this night." The first light of dawn painted the swamp in pale gold. Eric sat on the porch of the cabin, wrapped in a damp blanket, watching the mist rise from the water. Every breath he took was heavy with relief and gratitude. He thought of the past days, the darkness, the pain, the relentless struggle. The memory of the creature's grip, the cold water, and the suffocating mud would haunt him forever. Yet the ordeal had changed him. Fear had sharpened his senses, and isolation had strengthened his mind. Eric's thoughts drifted to his family. He pictured their faces, imagining the joy and relief when he would return. He realized that survival was not only about fighting for life, but about cherishing it, every moment, every smile, every connection. The cabin's door opened, and the woman offered him a warm cup of tea. Eric accepted, feeling the comfort seep into his bones. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Many don't make it through nights like that." Eric nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He closed his eyes and allowed himself a rare moment of stillness. The swamp was no longer a place of terror, but a reminder of resilience and determination. Every scar, every bruise, and every aching muscle was a testament to the power of the human spirit. As the sun climbed higher, Eric stood, feeling renewed. The journey ahead would be long, but he knew he had faced death and emerged with a deeper understanding of life. He would tell his story, not for glory, but to remind others that even in the darkest places, courage and hope could guide the way. "This night, this swamp, this struggle, it made me who I am," Eric whispered, "and I will never take life for granted again."